purple guy!
That's right, I made the purple guy. I also redid the Queen of Railcars too. This is basically their season 20 episode. Basically the stars and planets and whatever else aligned perfectly for this. So we'll jump right into it. We'll start with Daisy. I originally showcased Daisy back in 2023, so I'll just skip over her backstory. Her model was made using Hornby's Class 121 bubble car, just repainted. I initially had her in a very simplistic livery, and started to look rather plain to me over time. I never gave her any lighting or even detailed her interior. And then eventually I had a dry spot in between models, and decided to take a crack at redoing Daisy. I removed the body shell and submerged it in a mixture of rubbing alcohol and water. I had to use big ass containers to fit it. I didn't want to use all alcohol as I only happen to have a jug of 99% isopropyl from 3D printing. And it's rather expensive, so I mixed it with water. It actually worked. I let it sit for about 2 days and then I just brushed it off with a plastic brush. Make sure you don't use a metal wire brush on a plastic part as it will scratch the hell out of it. After some hard scrubbing and cleaning, I primed the freshly clean body in a gray. I then brushed on my Emerald Jade paint. This is a custom mix using various shades from Apple Barrel. I then shifted focus to the interior. The base model was red in Coca-Cola colors at first. And the interior were like the seats and everything, which is a solid blue piece. And going into this redo, this was one thing I want to focus on the most. Daisy is highly sprung after all, so she needs a worthy interior design. I started by painting the flooring in a pale red, and then painted the seats in a dark purple. Just custom mixes I randomly mixed in my paint palette. Shifting back to the exterior again, I masked off these sides for the pinstripe. This was also a detail I wanted to focus on as well. And it was very tedious to get the tape to be even. I very carefully painted over the masked areas and did loads of touch-ups in the green. It was actually around the same time Keeper of Toast made his glorious Daisy model. So I took some inspiration from his design and lined out just the proper windows as opposed to all of them. Classic gold Sharpie was of great help in this process. The last interior detail was the color of the interior itself. I eventually landed on using Apple Barrel's Chestnut for the inside. This is the same shade I used for the sides of Pip and Emma, and eventually plan to use for Andy and Clarabelle once I make them. Now surprisingly, the most difficult part of this redo was the yellow fronts. I initially painted over them in green as I was unsure what to do at first. Then I eventually pivoted to just scraping off the green paint and then just repainting the yellow hazards, using a very thin yellow paint by a brand called Monocolor. And you use some toothpicks and it was very difficult to get it kind of smooth. And even then it's a little rough looking, but I'm fine with it regardless. And then following a new clear coat to the body and a quick reassembly, Daisy was fully completed once again. I am much happier with this rendition of the model. So much to Daisy now. Now I hope to redo some of my older models like Henry or even Gordon, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's shift to Ryan. I've touched upon Ryan's backstory in the past, so I'll be fairly brief here. Ryan was not built with the initial batch of N2 in his AU. He was instead built way later in the early 70s by the Northwestern Railway as a new build N2. Ryan was commissioned by the railway to assist on the coastal run that serves the fishing villages. And Ryan was such built to a much lighter weight to fit the branch. And various parts were made from aluminum, notably his cap. And he subsequently fell off the keel within a matter of days, much to old Arthur's amusement. After this brief hiccup, Ryan was given his proper livery. He was initially offered GNR Green, but Ryan had the same question as Eric Andre.
What if it was purple?
So Ryan was instead painted into a very fashionable dark purple with gold lining, and was also given his official Northwestern number on his team. Then Ryan continued working on the branch, and is still there today. Now, Ryan was a model that I've always wanted to make from the start, but the N2s are rather hard to come by in model form, at least for a decent price. And so I was scrolling eBay one night, just searching for whatever, and I came across a Dapple N2 for a very cheap price, and was located domestically. And so I just pounced on it immediately, and I fast-tracked Ryan. First thing I did was scrape off the old lettering and numbering, and then prime the model in my standard gray acrylic. After that, I searched for a shade of purple to use. I eventually landed on Apple Barrel's Purple Pansy for the body. Yes, that's the real name. Took about 5 thin coats before I was satisfied with the outcome. I wanted to make sure it was really, really vibrant. And I also painted the side rods on the model red. Using Albabarrel's King's Gold, I landed the boiler, tanks, bunker, cab windows, and splashers. After many top jobs with the purple, I very carefully painted on the numbers with toothpicks and a standard yellow, and then did a lot of cleanup with purple. But I hit a nickel every time I said purple in this video. The last time I did was spray paint the show in a matte clear coat. And then Ryan was done. I am really happy with how Ryan and Daisy turned out. Ryan especially turned out really good. And now finally have all the major tank engines from Thomas. Okay, most of them. Thank you all very much for watching this episode of Porterverse Workbench, and I will see you all same time next week.